Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the pigeon people. Japan is the home to many wonderful things, and that includes the wacky, bizarre pigeon people of Google Earth. Yes, you heard me correctly. What looks absolutely terrifying on the surface is thankfully most likely just a strange prank, but basically it saw a group, all wearing pigeon heads, lined up on the sidewalk ready for the Google camera as it went by. It's definitely a strange sight to begin with, but it's made even weirder by the turn of their heads in order to follow the camera. Honestly, really unsettling when you first look at it. I mean, pigeons are already weird creatures, so this little prank definitely has a bit of an eerie feeling to it, but the good news is that it's likely just a fun group of students from the art school that is nearby to this weird scene found on Google Maps. In our number 9 spot today, we have the invitation. This weird Google Maps image comes to us from Memphis, Tennessee, and while I've never been, I've heard wonderful things. That is all except for this weird message that was found as someone was searching through Google Maps, and it's located on the top of the building. Someone wrote this message, and it's gotta be pretty large considering it was so easy to read even from this distance, but the message says, "Come downtown and play." I don't know what kind of Pennywise is out there writing these kinds of messages, but I know I'm not crazy and there's something almost sinister feeling about it. It is likely some sort of marketing tactic or something of that nature. I mean, at least I hope it is, but from a distance, when it looks like it could be something that was spray painted by a random person, it just seems weird, you know? I just know I probably won't be RSVPing to this invite anytime soon. Thanks, but no thanks. In our number 8 spot today, we have the disposal. Mannequins are always creepy. I don't care. They just are. My old roommate was a hairdresser, and when she was in school, sometimes I'd go to get a glass of water in the middle of the night and be absolutely startled by the disembodied head I saw, and only after the near heart attack realize in my sleepy state that it in fact was just a mannequin head. Well, you can imagine people got a lot of the same sort of feeling when they were on Google Maps and saw this sight of all of these discarded mannequins that truly for a second looks like it's a pile of bodies sitting in the trash. How horrifying. This site was seen on Google Maps in Chile, and it definitely was freaking people out. I wonder what these mannequins were used for. I mean, there's a ton of them, so it must have been used for some sort of clothing shop or like a seamstress or something, right? Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but that's what I'm choosing to believe. In our number 7 spot today, we have friendship. This is one Google Maps sighting that doesn't have a lot of information behind it, which definitely makes it all the more eerie. Basically, this is just an image of a group of friends standing together in the desert. Maybe a little strange, but not so weird. Right? Well, yeah, except for the weird masks they're wearing and the fact that they're all staring directly at the camera. I'm sure the story behind this one is that these friends saw the Google Maps car coming and decided to play a little prank, probably similar to the pigeon people, but I mean, no one has been able to confirm this, and who keeps a bunch of scary masks on them? I mean, I guess the mission these people set out on was likely accomplished, because here we are, talking about this creepy prank. In our number 6 spot today, we have the SS Yasim wreck. The SS Yasim was a Bolivian cargo ship that sank on the evening of December 1st, 2003. For a while, no one was quite sure as to why it sank, as well as the fact that no one could find the wreck. This was honestly very strange just in general, but also especially because of the fact that the ship was quite large at 265 feet. This is exactly why it was so surprising when, a few years ago, the Google Maps team located the sunken vessel based on their satellite imaging. The ship was found on its side, perhaps in the same location it initially sank, in Wingate Reef just off of the coast of Sudan. The mystery as to why the wreck was never found was realized because of the location of it. The wreck is close to an island where an uncontacted tribe lives. Of course, for the safety of both the tribe as well as outsiders who might not be welcomed, people thankfully tend to leave the island alone, but this is exactly why the wreck wasn't found for so long. This wreck then became one of the largest visible on Google Earth until quite recently. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Gobi Desert structure. This is one discovery that I talked about recently, and it's one that had conspiracy theorists' minds absolutely swirling. About a decade ago, someone was searching through some Google Maps images when they found a mysterious array of structures and patterns that appeared to be etched into the surface of the Gobi Desert, which is located in China. The structures, as they are referred to, are kind of similar to geoglyphs, but these ones look modern and newly created, and rather than actually being carved into the ground, they're made of something. The internet, of course, came up with some pretty insane speculations of what these structures could be, or what they might be used for, and the ideas stretched from spy satellite calibration to some sort of Illuminati affiliated product, so Who really knows at this point? In our number 4 spot today, we have the perpetrators. Okay, so this picture is definitely not really terrifying itself, but the story behind it certainly is. So basically, in 2011, a woman who lives in Oklahoma City was unfortunately the victim of a terrible crime. She was held at gunpoint by one man while another raided her home. I can't even imagine. That must have been so terrible and terrifying. So imagine her surprise one day when a friend of hers was on Google Maps in her neighborhood, and who does she see other than the 2 people who committed this crime against her? They were seen on the street camera hanging out apparently near her home. She of course called the police and turned the images over to them, and it is said that they are using them in the investigation. It is unclear if they were ever able to catch the perpetrators or not, but hopefully this image proved to be useful. In our number 3 spot today, we have the escape artist. Listen, not everything appears as it is on the surface, but this one at best is definitely fishy. Basically, it appears as if the Google Maps camera may have caught someone as they escape prison. This photo comes from Michigan, and it was taken by Google in front of the Lenawee County Jail. Basically, in the image, you see a guy walking in a white jumpsuit with black stripes, carrying a bag on his shoulder, with the jail visible in the background. When someone initially saw this on Google Maps, they of course screenshotted it and posted it to Reddit asking people if Google caught someone as they were escaping. Honestly, we aren't exactly sure, but it is entirely possible that this inmate was just a trusted one who was on some kind of work duty where they were doing some work outside of the fence. Perhaps whoever was supervising just wasn't in the view of the Google car. Either that or this guy's the most calm escapee I've ever seen. In our number 2 spot today, we have caught red-handed. In 2008, a young man in Holland was biking home when 2 men ended up ambushing him, and they stole his bike, phone, and the cash he had on him. First, authorities were having trouble finding who the 2 men were that did this to him because of a lack of evidence, but just 6 months later there was a break in the case. The boy was looking at the street view of where the incident happened, and as he explored just a little bit, he found that the Google Maps car camera had captured the moments just prior to this terrible incident. That means that the camera captured the faces of those who had stolen his belongings. He ended up calling the police, who then called Google and asked for the unblurred versions of the photos. When Google delivered them, the police realized that they were able to directly identify the pair in the photo, who were a pair of 24-year-old brothers. Who knew that Google Maps could help bring people to justice? In our number 1 spot today, we have the cold case. This is one thing that was discovered on Google Maps that is really similar to a story that I covered in part 1 of this series. Basically, in 2007, someone was on Google Maps when they spotted something in a body of water that appeared to them to be a car. It turns out that they were right, and they helped the authorities solve an over 20-year-old cold case. Apparently, a man named William Molt was reported missing from Florida on November 7th, 1997. He never returned home after a night out, and police had been searching for him ever since. Once that person in 2007 brought what they found to the police, they were able to investigate, and they found the missing vehicle. Inside was a body that they were finally able to identify as the missing William. It truly is a very tragic story, but at least he was finally found so that he can be returned to his loved ones and they can have some closure to the story.
Starting us off at number 10, Sandy Island. Also known as the Phantom Island, this peculiar location was first discovered by the famous British explorer Captain James Cook in 1774. Now, what's crazy about Sandy Island is that it was documented on maps, globes, and even nautical charts for 238 years. But now if you go to Google Maps, you will see no such island. The reason being is that in 1979, it was quite literally undiscovered, as apparently no landmass existed there. But even so, it remained on Google Maps until 2012. This seemingly conflicting information made many wonder if there is something that we aren't being told about the strange island, or non-island, I suppose. And so naturally, a conspiracy theory began, stating that this undiscovered island actually was there and that we are being lied to. Now, I'm not about to jump quite to that conclusion, however, I will admit that it isn't every day that something becomes undiscovered, so it does make sense to wonder if there is something going on behind the scenes. However, I guess we will never know for sure. Next up at number 9, Blurred House. So I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure if this qualifies as terrifying in the usual sense. However, it is certainly mysterious, and so I couldn't help myself from adding it to today's list. Located in Stockton-on-Tees, England, there is an inexplicable blurring of a random house that has perplexed neighbors, tourists, and even the residents themselves since 2009. Of course, when things like this happen, people like to make their own conclusions, and so rumors involving crime or aliens began spreading about the property. But in reality, the truth was much more unnerving, that no one could actually explain or figure out why it was banned for public viewing. In fact, according to the current resident, quote, "I've been in this house since 2000, but I have no idea why you can't see it." Which would mean at one point you could see it, and then 9 years later it was suddenly not suitable for the public to have access to? So, is there something spooky about this house that Google doesn't want us to know? Certainly seems that way. Coming in at number 8, Baker Lake. Up in a remote location of Nunavut, Canada, there is a seemingly innocuous place called Baker Lake that for some mysterious reason is not fully visible on Google Maps. In fact, if you do a quick search, there is actually a long black strip that covers a good chunk of the area, and as I'm sure you can imagine, it has garnered a terrifying conspiracy theory to explain why that is. The theory states that this black strip is actually covering extraterrestrial beacons that the government secretly brought down to Earth in 1972. The theory then goes on to explain that these top secret beacons exert powerful electromagnetic fields that disrupt Earth's natural energy grids, which in turn have altered the weather and have been used to focus the Earth's energy in undisclosed ways. Further, there are some out there who propose that because these alleged beacons are stolen space property, it has caused a massive war with aliens, hence the uprising in alleged UFO sightings. Now, in reality, we have no concrete evidence as to why this is blurred out, but whatever it is, it must be for a good reason. Next up at number 7, Jeannette Island. Located somewhere in the East Siberian Sea, this mysterious tiny island measures just 1.2 miles in length, and according to the powers that be, we are not supposed to know about it. First discovered in the late 19th century during the Jeannette expedition, this icy landmass and the ominous Google Maps blob that covers it have been the subject of numerous conspiracies, ranging from the usual alien stuff to it being a top secret government base for secret or evil deals amongst world leaders. Now, one thing we do know about this place is that there have been some issues over the years about who the island legally belonged to, with the US and Russia often butting heads over ownership. This has, of course, lended its hand to the evil political military base narrative, but for all we know, the truth could be even more terrifying. Coming in at number 6, former Sansi UFO houses. When construction on these peculiar houses began in 1978, they were marketed to be vacation resorts for US military officers coming from their East Asian postings. But as you might have noticed, they have an extremely futuristic look to them, hence why they got the nickname UFO houses. However, the bubbly pod-like architecture wasn't the only strange thing about these houses. A mere 2 years after construction began, the project was abandoned and never finished due to several car accidents and a number of construction workers who took their own lives on the job. This, of course, caused a huge loss on the investment, and they were forced to end the project. The plan from there was to tear down all the buildings despite a major public pushback, and eventually in 2010 all the UFO houses were demolished. But of course, this still didn't answer the mystery on everyone's mind. What was behind all this tragedy, and why were they so hell-bent on destroying the buildings? Well, there are a few theories. Some believe that the site was the formal burial ground for Dutch soldiers, and that the workers had been cursed during construction, while another theory claims that the tragedies were due to the bisecting of the Chinese dragon sculpture located near the resort gates. And of course, the shape of the buildings drew in conspiracy theorists who claim aliens were the reason for death and that they could have threatened the company to tear it down. So considering the buildings no longer exist, they could have very well been something they tried to keep from us. Coming in at number 5, Vaz Island. Way back in the 1920s, the Red Army began searching for a discreet place to build a military complex for inventing, producing, and testing biological weapons. They wanted something small and far away from the Soviet borders so as not to draw attention. And eventually by 1948, such a place was found. Almost immediately, a top-secret Soviet lab began testing agents such as smallpox, anthrax, and plague, among others. However, what they didn't see coming was that the island, once split between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, would begin to grow in size once the Aral Sea began drying up in the 1960s. Then fast forward to 1971, and a weaponized smallpox was accidentally released from the lab, infecting 10 people, 3 of whom lost their life. And by the 1990s, the secrecy of the lab got compromised. All island inhabitants were evacuated, leaving the base completely abandoned by 1991. However, in their haste to leave, many of the containers were not properly destroyed or sealed. And so over time, these containers began to leak, contaminating the grounds for decades. Now, the good news is that by 2002, a lot of the sites were decontaminated, but many areas remain contaminated, and it's still one of the most feared and deadly places in the world. Coming in at number 4, underwater pyramids. Located in the Bahamas, this photo found in Google Maps has left many thinking that they discovered underwater pyramids. Now, I know, this is a full conspiracy theory, but I mean, what else do you expect to find when Google Maps has blurred out seemingly normal places across the globe? The main conspiracy surrounding these alleged underwater pyramids is that they are living proof of the long-lost city of Atlantis, or at the very least, proof of some ancient Aztec civilization. But of course, there are others out there who claim these underwater pyramids all have to do with aliens. The mysterious structure is estimated to measure between 3.5 to 11 miles across, based on the photos, although no one knows for sure, as you can't get to the structure to see for yourself. If it is in fact a pyramid, and the size that many believe it to be, it would be the biggest pyramid ever built. But seeing as though no one can visit them, it might be a long while before we know if these pyramids prove any kind of extraterrestrial involvement on Earth. Coming in at number 3, Amchitka Island. Once home to the Aleut people for over 2,500 years, Amchitka Island has had no permanent population since 1832. In 1836, when the United States purchased Alaska, they gained control of the territory, and it's likely that this purchase had a lot to do with the declining population. However, that's not why it's blurred from the public view. Beginning in the 50s and up until the 70s, Amchitka was used by the US Atomic Energy Commission as a site for underground nuclear detonations, and during these 20 or so years, this island became known as the location of one of the largest underground tests ever conducted in US history. At the time, quite a bit of controversy followed what was going on at the island, mostly due to the fear that the tests could cause several environmental impacts and desolate the land, which frankly, they were not wrong about. While not entirely confirmed, it is the general belief that the controversial nuclear past of this island is the reason behind the ominous blur, as it's not somewhere Google is quick to advertise as a place to visit. Coming in at number 2, GROM headquarters. If you have ever Googled Warsaw, Poland, you may or may not have come across a strange group of buildings that look like mysterious blobs compared to the rest of the city around it. Well, as it turns out, this is no accident. Those buildings are GROM headquarters, which is essentially Poland's Special Forces building. Now, I'll be honest, there is not much you can find about these headquarters. All I can find out about this top secret group is that they rescued CIA agents from a mission gone wrong in Desert Storm back in 1991. And apparently, whatever else it is they are up to, they do not want you to know about. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of the point. So as much as I'm sure many of us would like to know what goes on in this super secret Polish spy headquarters, I'm afraid that information is highly classified and their exact location will continue to remain a secret from the public. And last up in our number 1 spot, 2207 Seymour Avenue. Once the home of the beyond evil Ariel Castro, there is no conspiracy that comes with why this house is blurred on Google Maps, only a truly terrifying reality. The horrors in this house began in the mid-90s when Ariel was married to a woman named Grimilda Figuera. Ariel was extremely abusive towards his wife, but despite cracking her skull and causing an eventual terminal brain tumor from his actions, the domestic violence arrest did not result in an indictment. By the late 90s, things began to get even scarier for Grimilda, and so she moved out, took their 4 offspring, and filed for full custody. But again, no charges were pressed against him. However, his abusive backstory with his wife is not the reason for the infamous reason you can't see this house. It's because shortly after their divorce, between the years of 2002 to 2004, Ariel kidnapped 3 young women and held them captive in this house until 2013. His victims, Amanda Berry, Michelle Knight, and Gina DeJesus, were starved, beaten, and endured unspeakable psychological and physical acts at this monster's hands, until finally in 2013 when Amanda noticed a door was left unlocked and saw a neighbor walking down the street. Amanda screamed for help and the neighbor ran to the house, broke through the door, allowing Amanda to make a valiant escape with her 6-year-old daughter. She promptly called 911 and authorities arrived in minutes, saving the other 2 victims. The case made international headlines and Ariel Castro was rightfully sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years without possibility of parole. As part of the plea bargain, the house was actually demolished, but still the story was so evil that it remains blurred on Google Maps forever.
Kicking our list off at number 10, missing car. Gearing up for the holidays, it should be an exciting time, right? You put up lights, almost fall off a couple of ladders, you're freezing cold. It's good, right? It's family bonding. You want to have a laugh. You don't want to accidentally find a car that's been missing for 9 years. That's not a laugh at all. That's rather stressful. That's right, back in 2015, a car that had been missing since 2006 was accidentally found while employees at a Michigan mortuary home were decorating around the building for the holidays, which on paper, I'm like, that's fun. They're making the, trying to liven it up a little bit. That's great. But finding this, that's creepy, especially here, ooh. In a nearby pond, they saw what appeared to be the roof of a car, and it turns out if you had just taken a look on Google Maps first, or at any point, you would have found this car a lot sooner, before the holidays. And also not in person, and terrifying. Finding this car also meant solving a 9-year-old missing person case. 72-year-old David Lee Niles most likely drove into the pond by accident. Now I'm gonna look on Google Maps after I'm done this list. Never know what you can find, or solve, apparently. That's great. Looking at my neighbor's backyard, I'm like, what is that? Is that a tire? Is that a coffin? Number 9, the Kazakhstan pentagram. The Nazca lines, they're massive, they're beautiful, right? But they're not a jarring image to look at. A little man carved into the earth, that's amazing. That's kind of cute. A giant pentagram? That's haunting, that's not fun. And the fact that there appears to be no life or civilization around said pentagram, well, even worse. This symbol was first discovered in 2013, and it was carved into the ground into a deserted part of Kazakhstan. The closest city to the symbol is 12 miles away, the city of Lysychovsk, so, that would be quite a commute, whoever did this work of art. The symbol was made because that apparently was the outline of a park at one point in time. It was supposed to be shaped like a star, but if you accidentally went to the wrong place, checked Google Maps to see where to go, zoomed out, and then saw this, well, I don't know about you, but I would faint at the wheel. I would fall asleep. That's so scary. That's jarring to see on Google Maps. That's very, I don't like that. Number 8, Scientology hidden base. The Church of Scientology's base, like their underground hidden headquarters, their base near Trementia, New Mexico, is very alien. It doesn't look out, it doesn't stand out in a good way. I'm sure some of us are watching right now and they're torn. Some are on board with Scientology, and some can't stand the sight of Tom Cruise's face. Whatever your opinion is. On Google Maps, this looks like it should be Area 51. It looks like hieroglyphics, almost. If you saw this on a map in a video game, well, something good has to be nearby. or terrible, one or the other. There's also a private airstrip nearby this symbol, so maybe there are aliens here? I don't know. Author John Sweeney says that this is a marker for the hidden bunker for the Church of Scientology. Now these symbols are apparently used by Scientologists as a guide to remind us where to go after returning to Earth, you know, post-apocalypse, when we all die and then all the Tom Cruises come back and they're like, hey, Mission Impossible 9, 10, 11, doesn't even matter. Number 7. 2012 Sandy Island. Does it exist or does it not exist? Come on, we need an answer. This island is becoming the new Atlantis, apparently. Back in 2012, the world did not end, obviously, but a new island was gifted to us, it seems. A previously undiscovered island just popped up on Google Maps. Now, it was called Sandy Island, and it was located northwest of New Caledonia, and appeared to be the size of Manhattan. Wasn't too big, but again, wasn't too small. We should be able to go and see something. However, when a group of scientists sailed in the area, it wasn't there. Yeah, the island just went away, or it sunk, or it moved, or it doesn't exist. I don't know, it's just not there. How lovely is that? They never found solid ground, only open water. They explained that this might be due to human errors, but do we believe that? I don't know, something's fishy here. Pun intended. I don't know, maybe a giant shark ate this island. Number 6, Big Bunny. It's normal to see bunny hills on Google Maps, but large bunnies on hills? Not what I signed up for. How does that happen? What? That shouldn't be a thing that exists, but it does, so now we have to talk about it. Located on the 5,000 foot high Coleto Fava mountain, there is somehow a massive 200 foot tall bunny. A knitted, pretty cute bunny. I don't know what's worse, being up close to it and seeing it massive in real life, or being far enough away that you see the whole creepy image of the bunny. Both are pretty gross. This rabbit is an art installation knitted by an art collective. So the whole purpose here was for tourists to come and jump around and play on it. Nice, I bet that's fun. I bet bugs love it as well. Number 5, Doll Village. This is like House of Wax kind of stuff. This is, it's one of the coolest places in my opinion. I would love to visit here, but I totally get why a lot of people are freaked out. There is a small village located in Shikoku, Japan, and what makes it creepy are of course the dolls spread out all over the place, and the lack of real living human people. All these dolls are made by the same person, and here's the kicker. According to reports, once a person passes away, this artist will replace them with a doll. Yeah, that noise you just made, that's why I put this on the list. That's terrifying, I don't like that at all. Another creepy thing here is that you won't see these dolls in the same place, but their creator, she'll deny moving them at all. So the dolls move on their own, that's cool. I lied, maybe this is the scariest place on earth and I'm not gonna visit. Ew, what if the dolls just looked at you? You're just sitting there and it's like, I don't like that, it gave me chills, creeps. Number 4, large lips. All right, large lips coming up next. After that creepy ghost town, we gotta throw in something different, right? Something nicer? I mean, I don't know. We still need to sleep at some point today. Located in Garb, Sudan, lies what appear to be a large set of lips. That's all I'll say about that. This is just a natural formation. There wasn't a lip park supposed to be built here. It's just Mother Nature, just doing her thing. Now, if the earth could speak out of this mouth, what do you think she would say? She'd probably say, use your turn signal, and also stop littering. Thanks. Number 3, creepy figure. I saw this late one night when I was scrolling, like alone in my personal life, and I gasped. I don't know, I don't like this one bit. I know it's probably easy to explain, but it's too creepy and, well, to be honest, I'm not sure when I'll get the chance to bring it up again on this channel, so here we go. The streets of Nancy, France. Now on Google Maps, this is a great way to get excited for your trip to Nancy, France. You gotta go check out the roads, plan where you're gonna go. Oh, why is that one spot blurred out? That's weird, let's Google it. Well, before this random spot was blurred out by Google, this creepy statue was just chilling on Google Street View. Now, I'm not sure who found this first, but man, that must have been jarring. Oh boy. It's so scary that Google even blurred it. You know what I mean? Even Google was like, huh. That's it. Why the area is blurred? I mean, people probably wanted to go check it out, and that's a no-no. Leave people alone, right? Obviously. That's what Google Maps is for. Just stalk them and scroll out from above. Easy. And number 2, Australia Triangle. Not to be confused with the Bermuda Triangle, although that's also a weird one. This Australian triangle was found, of course, on Google Maps, and I would check this one out. This is kind of cool. Anything alien, count me in. Put that tinfoil hat on. Let's do it. I'll watch signs on the plane on my way. It was originally discovered back in 2007, and some were quick to argue that this was a UFO that had made a pit stop on Earth. Google Maps got not a shot of it. Others found a much more plausible, boring solution. They thought that it's a wind farm with 3 sets of wires that ultimately form a triangle, and in the middle part it receives and transmits control signals. So it's not a UFO? Okay, are we sure? Alright, we'll come back. Maybe part 2. We'll see. And finally, number 1, the Island of the Dolls. Back to doll stuff, gross. Some of these I would check out in person. I mean, sure, this last one here, the Island of the Dolls, I would only leave for Google Maps. Maybe, I'm not even sure I would zoom in on this place online. Isla de las Muñecas, this island for dolls, is famous because, of course, the dolls are on it, but there's also doll parts that are spread throughout it. Just hundreds of them everywhere. They would be hanging from trees or they would be nailed to the trees. Again, parts or full dolls, doesn't matter, it's all terrible to me. A resident by the name of Julian Santa Barrera is responsible for all these doll parts, and he did this to try and ward off demonic spirits. It worked so well that now humans don't even bother with it. He did this right after he found a body in a canal after it went missing, and to this day nobody dares to approach the island. Yeah, more than fair. There's a body? What? They would much rather snap a few pics from their boat, or, like me, just check it out from Google Maps. That's it. All you gotta do is this, just zoom in and out, easy.
Starting off this countdown, we have Alexei Miller's house. Alexei Miller is the chairman of Russia's largest company and world's biggest natural gas producer. If you try and look up his house on Google Maps, well, good luck. It is completely blurred out. In fact, we don't even have an image of it. And that's due to privacy reasons and safety concerns. I mean, this guy isn't everyone's biggest fan. Being that wealthy and big of a public figure, you don't know who's going to come for you. Now, I mentioned this before, but prisons are blurred out to prevent people or prisoners from breaking in or out of the facility. Google Earth literally shows you the entire layout of the place. So Miller probably has similar reasoning as to why he wants this place blurred. Someone could easily use Google Earth to figure out the best way to break into this dude's house. It would also show if he has cameras around his premise and where. So yeah, it's a little revealing. In our 9th spot today, we have KFC. Now, this one is a little funny. So you know how Google Maps automatically censors out any person's face that they end up capturing? Well, they ended up censoring every single KFC. And that's because of Colonel Sanders' face. Google's system detected it as a real person, well, it is a real person, and it got blurred. So the Colonel's face is censored on all KFC buildings and signs. In our 8th spot, we have the Army Logistics Command Headquarters. Located in Taiwan, the Army Logistics Command Headquarters building is one of various military sites across Taiwan that has been blurred out on Google. And I'm sure you all can understand why. They do so for security reasons. Google often blurs out military bases or buildings if they are considered important to a country's security. Like I said, this is just one of the many military buildings blurred out by the Taiwan government and by Google. But in 2019, an update was done by Google and it resulted in a number of these bases being revealed to the public accidentally. The blurring was accidentally removed and people could see the buildings from all sorts of angles. People saw the military bases layout, building structures, and the locations of missile launchers. Good job, Google. But don't worry, now it's fixed. In our 7th spot, we have Tontaco National Park, Chile. Now, why would a national park be censored on Google? Literally no one knows. So this is a privately owned nature reserve. Now on Google Maps, you could see it from afar, but as soon as you zoom in closer, it doesn't do anything. It just looks like a green blob. So why would they censor this area? Well, some say it's because of the fact that it's home to several endangered animal species, whereas others believe that this place is home to animals that aren't supposed to exist. Imagine unicorns actually do exist and they're just in this area, or like the Bigfoot. Wild. In our 6th spot, we have the single square. In El Hierro, Spain, there is this random square that was censored among the roads and plantations. Now, this site wasn't always censored. It became censored in 2007 when just a blur was added to the square. And many people were wondering why all of a sudden it was censored. Well, some say that's because a helicopter pad was placed there, so it was censored to hide that, whereas others think that there's a missile silo placed there. As of 2013, the censor, I believe, has been removed, and now all there is to see is an arid stretch of land. But what was going on there for 7 years when it was censored? That's my question. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Ursprung Park. Located in the Netherlands, this is a mysterious building that, you guessed it, is censored. But what's weird is that this is the only property in a row of houses that is censored. Why is that house alone censored and not all of them? In older images from Google Earth, the building appears to be covered with a white box. Nowadays, if you search it, it's just a pixelated green and brown area. Again, no one knows why this area is blurred. When you check Google Street View, you can see that it's a brick building, but on Google Earth, you see nothing. Now, it could just be that the homeowner wants privacy. Who knows? In our fourth spot, we have North Korea. And of course, North Korea is on this list. I mean, hello, the whole country itself is one big secret. It's no shocker that sections of the country are blurred out. Now, the area that is blurred is along the country's western shore, so people have thought that they are hiding something there. Theory 1 is that that's where they do weapon tests, or that's where they have missiles or other weapons stored. Theory 2 is that that's where they are conducting a secret military project. Very vague, we don't know what the project is. Again, it's North Korea, so we really don't know what they're up to or why that particular area is blurred out. In our third spot, we have Marcoule nuclear site. Located in France, this site was first constructed in 1952. Now, we've done a number of these Google Earth videos, so at this point, you should realize that most nuclear facilities are blurred out. Mostly because these nuclear sites were caught doing illegal things with their nuclear waste, like dumping it into the ocean. Now, this one hasn't done that, but in 2011, it was the center of an explosion. One person was killed, 4 were injured, 1 was severely injured. So I mean, I think you can guess as to why an atomic energy site using uranium and plutonium oxides is censored by the French government, especially after that explosion in 2011. In our second spot today, we have Sandy Island, aka the island that exists but it doesn't exist. Now, this one comes with a little backstory. This island was discovered by Captain Cook, yes, Captain Cook, not Hook, during his explorations around Australia in the late 1700s. But now it seemingly disappeared. Back in the 19th century, Sandy Island was noted on a number of maps and nautical charts. It was said to be located in the South Pacific. It was located between Australia and New Caledonia. But it's no longer there. On Google Maps, if you enter the island's coordinates, all you see is a faint outline of what looks like a long, thin island, but there's no landmass in sight. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Moroa Island. Located in French Polynesia, this island was first used for nuclear testing in 1966 by France. These tests took place until 1996. That's when the French president shut down the facility. Turns out that Greenpeace found these tests were polluting the waters as far as Peru and New Zealand. In fact, many locals in Tahiti have claimed that they have been affected by the radiation from these tests. Nowadays, the island is off limits to visitors and is guarded by French forces, which is probably why half of the island is blurred out on Google Maps. Or it's because they are still doing these nuclear tests. We may never know.
Starting us off at number 10, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say that the creature could even devour a whole ship and its crew in entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim around the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. And now, one Reddit user, Brave and Butter, believes they saw one on Google Maps. Their post says, quote, "I'm sure I'm not the first to find this, but it seems to be some sort of kraken. The spot in question is near a place called Deception Island in the Antarctic region, and they theorize that the dark spot on the bottom left is actually the giant squid-like creature from a sailor's nightmare." I mean, to be fair, we do know of actual giant cephalopods that have been caught, though not the size told in tales of the Kraken, but still, there could be some truth here. What do you think? Next up at number 9, Kentucky Beast. Off Highway 119 in Bell County, Kentucky, a few friends posted online saying they saw an inhuman creature right where, quote, the Christmas store used to sit on 119 outside of Callaway on the right side of the road in the field with all the white cows, which sounds like a very specific location. According to the Google Maps details, the cryptid was some kind of large gray creature with the head of a man and unusually sized paws that left huge prints in the area. So yeah, not something you plan to see on the highway. According to the description, some people think they could have seen some kind of dog man, but honestly, who knows? From the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like they stuck around long enough to get a good look at this mysterious beast, and you know what? I don't blame them. Whatever it is, hopefully it comes in peace. Next up at number 8, Mothman. The legend of Mothman began in 1966 West Virginia after a group of grave diggers working late spotted an incredibly strange creature soaring over their heads, jumping from tree to tree. But it didn't stop there. Soon others were reporting a similar creature, described as measuring 7 feet tall, with beady red eyes and a wingspan of 10 feet, able to travel at incredibly fast speeds. Which, truthfully, kind of sounds like a demon if you ask me, but let's hope not. Now, there wasn't much evidence to back up this terrifying cryptid until one Reddit user posted it to a Mothman subreddit with a Google Maps image that appears to be the Mothman in plain sight in a forest. Many of the comments on this post claim how terrifying this is and how this proves once and for all that the cryptid is real. But I'll be honest, I might need a little more convincing. While this image certainly looks like a perfect match to the Mothman, I must admit it does kind of look like someone is wearing a suit. But hey, maybe I am wrong, and maybe we should be very worried that someone finally captured evidence of this terrifying creature. Coming in at number 7, fairies. Now, some of you who aren't familiar with fae might be asking yourself at this point, what could these adorable little creatures be doing on a list for terrifying cryptids? Well, unlike what Disney would have you believe, fairies come in many different forms and can be very scary creatures, and messing with any kind of fae is definitely a very, very, very bad idea. Now, luckily for this next person, they don't seem to have angered whatever it is they saw, but I can only imagine how terrifying it would have been in the moment. Reportedly, a 15-year-old boy was out for a walk when he spotted 2 strange creatures fishing. The cryptids were very short, unlike the size of any human he had ever seen, dressed in all green, wore brown shoes, and were talking to each other in Gaelic before they noticed him and vanished almost immediately. After they disappeared, the boy got closer to the spot he saw them and found a small pipe left behind that, according to him, disappeared later that night after he had safely locked it away. According to him, no one in his family took it, and he knows the box was locked. So do you think the leprechauns could have returned for their pipe? Let's just hope they didn't leave any kind of evil curse on him if they did. Coming in at number 6, a mysterious creature. Posted online in June of 2022, this sighting was not just creepy and inexplicable to the general public, it even became a news story across the entire country. Apparently, this strange creature that is being called Wolfman was caught on camera walking around the Amarillo Zoo in Texas, and no one can figure out what the heck it is. According to city officials, it is real and not doctored footage, but that kind of just makes it even more concerning. It doesn't appear to be any kind of animal we're familiar with, and it is certainly not a human either. At least, no one thinks so at this point. This UAO, or unidentified Amarillo object, as it's being called, has people up in arms, with some saying it's a chupacabra, the absolutely horrific folklore creature that's said to live in the southern United States and attack and devour livestock. But that's not the only theory circulating the internet. There are conspiracy theories that it's an evil alien coming to Earth, that it's a skinwalker, or that it's even some kind of Sasquatch. But honestly, I just hope that whatever it is, it's not looking to hurt anyone. Coming in at number 5, Mayaka skunk ape. While Bigfoot tends to get all of the fame in the cryptid world, there are other similarly hairy creatures that could be roaming around the United States as we speak. According to one Google Maps location, there may have been a sighting of the skunk ape near the Mayaka River in Sarasota, Florida. According to details online, in October of 2000, a senior woman sent a letter to the local police station accompanied by some photos of what could only be described as a large ape. In her letter, she reportedly claimed that the skunk ape was 6 or 7 feet tall, but would crouch over, had an ungodly smell, and would sneak into her property to steal her apples. However, her true fear was that the cryptid could have some kind of disease that could spread to her family, as she routinely had her grandkids over to play in the backyard. Unfortunately, police were not able to deny or confirm the existence of the mysterious creature, but that hasn't stopped locals from trying to unravel the mystery to this day. Coming in at number 4, a giant fly. As far as terrifying creatures go, flies are not generally the first thing that comes to mind. That being said, this story might have changed my mind. One alleged witness contacted someone through the website The Cryptid Wiki, claiming they'd seen an insect that looked like a horsefly that was almost 2 feet from head to tail. They say they were in the garden in Serbia in 2015 when they heard a horrible, loud buzzing and briefly saw a huge horsefly pass them in the middle of the night, which sounds like something from my nightmares. According to the witness, quote, "I saw it probably for 6 seconds after it flew past me, and it disappeared when it flew behind my garden fence. I checked and nothing was there. The bug was big and black and I couldn't see it very well, but it made a loud buzzing noise. The weather was cloudy and it was night. My mother and sister were there too, and they saw it and were shocked." Now, if what they saw was real, then it could be so dangerous. I mean, the bite from a regular horsefly is bad enough. Imagine how bad it could be if the thing was 2 feet long. Coming in at number 3, Bigfoot. Out of any of the cryptids out there, I would venture to say that the hairy Sasquatch is likely the one that most people claim to have witnessed. I mean, practically everyone and their neighbor claim to have seen the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape has been a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. And with just a quick search, you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Grimland's 1967 film, where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day, and though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Of the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have spotted the Sasquatch roaming about the woods, one of the only sightings you can find on Google Maps is located in Seven Chutes, Canada, where a photo of a large, broad-shouldered humanoid creature covered in hair shocked everyone who stumbled upon it. However, considering these things roam around the woods, I highly doubt it's still in the same spot as it was captured on Google. Coming in at number 2, Lake Monster. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, then you are no stranger to this mythological sea creature. But could it be that there is more to Ogopogo than we thought? The tale of the creature dates back thousands of years, with the Salish indigenous people having passed along stories about a spirit of the lake, which was later turned into what we now call Ogopogo after white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she has not been the only one to come forward with so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they confirmed that it didn't look like any known animal to the lake, but there also wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of Ogopogo from Sean's photo. Since then, many mysterious sightings have popped up on Google Maps, so I guess people will just have to keep returning to the lake for more proof. And last up in our number 1 spot, the Ottawa Angel. This next one comes from a blog post, and I'm just gonna let this man tell you his story firsthand, cause man, oh man, it is wild. Quote, I lived right beside the highway on-ramp and was on my way rather quickly on that sunny yet windy fall day. As usual, I put some good music on and proceeded to enjoy the approximately 1 hour long scenic drive to Ottawa. I rather liked and traveled this route quite often. It was an uneventful trip which had passed rather quickly as I began to approach the Ottawa city limits at about 12:20 p.m. At this point, in broad daylight, without a cloud in the sky, I caught my eye up ahead in the distance on what at first came to mind as a very large seagull due to its white and gray appearance. But he soon realized it was something much stranger than a seagull. Quote, I then noticed what looked like outstretched arms connected to a human-looking torso with a head and what I call legs, but which in fact more closely resembled a long serpent-looking tail flowing behind this winged being at the time. I do realize how strange this may sound, but I assure you that it is unfortunately all too real. He did not appear friendly or welcoming, and I will never forget the last seconds that I could see him and his ominous glare. So what could this thing have been? Some kind of angel? Or some kind of demon perhaps? I guess we'll never know. But if it ever does return, we know where to find it.
Number 10. HAARP Site. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, aka HAARP, is a University of Alaska Fairbanks program which researches the ionosphere, the highest ionized part of Earth's atmosphere. It is currently among the most controversial operations being carried out in the US and forms the base for a number of conspiracy theories. Various individuals have speculated about hidden motivations and capabilities of the project. For example, Rosalie Bertell warned in 1996 about the deployment of HAARP as a military weapon. Michael Chasudovsky stated in a book published by the Committee on Monetary and Economic Reform that the recent scientific evidence suggests that HAARP is fully operational and has the capability of triggering floods, hurricanes, droughts, and earthquakes. Over time, HAARP has been blamed for generating such catastrophes as well as thunderstorms in Iran, Pakistan, Haiti, Turkey, Greece, and the Philippines, and even major power outages, the downing of TWA Flight 800, Gulf War Syndrome, and chronic fatigue syndrome. And the fact that this place is blurred out on Google Maps, I think they're guilty. Number 9. North Korea. Until February 2013, North Korea existed as a blurred blotch on Google Maps with just its capital city, Pyongyang, marked on it. Today, you can see it on the map, but you can't see it on Street View. Why can't we see anything? Well, this is due to their dictator Kim Jong-un's rule. It's been said that they have many secret missile bases and they have some nuclear facilities. There's also Kanjong-dong, better known as Propaganda Village. It's North Korea's end of the DMZ and has a grand total of 200 people living in it. Well, that's if you believe the North Korean government. In reality, there are absolutely no residents. Zero. It's completely empty. The village was designed to show off the virtues of North Korean lifestyle to South Korean villages in view and lead to defection. You can see it from South Korea, but not on Google Maps. And one of the biggest atrocities in North Korea are their prison camps. A former guard likened the prisoners to walking skeletons, dwarfs, and cripples in rags. He estimated about 30% of prisoners had deformities such as torn off ears, smashed eyes, crooked noses, and faces covered with cuts and scars, resulting
sufferings from beatings and other mistreatment, and that these people were still forced to work. They had to do hard physical labor in agriculture, mining, and inside factories from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., followed by ideological re-education and self-criticism sessions. The prisoners are forced to sleep in a room with 80 to 90 people in 30 square meter flea-infested rooms, are only occasionally allowed to use the toilet, one for about every 300 people, and may only take a shower after several months. No wonder Kim doesn't want us to see any of this, because they're major crimes against humanity. Number 8. Babylon. Once on the list of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, a predominant part of the Holy Bible, Babylon, Iraq now appears on Google Maps as an unending farmland. The vast history behind the city makes it stand out as one of the greatest cities in Iraq, and many find it to be disrespectful that Google Maps would blur out such a city. Many people speculate that is the history itself that is the reason why parts of Babylon are censored. Not all of the history has been uncovered from this ancient city, and the censorship could deter people from exploring the area and finding things for themselves, but I feel like this would make me want to explore it more. Number 7. Israel. When you first start looking at Israel in satellite view, everything looks fine, but zoom in and you'll notice that things get blurry quickly. In fact, all of Israel is shown in low resolution by all US-based mapping services due to the Kyla Bingaman Amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act of 1997. Entitled Prohibition on Collection and Release of Detailed Satellite Imagery Relating to Israel, the amendment requires the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, Commercial Remote Sensing Regulatory Affairs Agency, to regulate the distribution of zoomed images of Israel. While the review of the Kyla-Bingaman Amendment is said to be taking place, many images of Israel remain blurry. Number 6. Washington-Oregon border. If you hover over the Washington and Oregon border in the northwestern part of the US, you may find a small black box along the border. This seems like a strange place to censor, and as soon as this came out, people began speculating. One of the most popular reasons to be rumored was the involvement of the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and was thought to be a base of theirs. However, people have traveled to the area in real life and found nothing but the empty terrain in the area. So, why is it blocked out? No one really knows. Number 5. Elmira Correctional Facility. Okay, Google isn't trying to hide this place, but the warden is. Elmira Correctional Facility in New York is blurred because the warden of the prison put in a request for censorship with Google to censor the prison so prisoners wouldn't be able to map out escape plans. After several escapes, the warden decided that it may be the fact that prisoners are escaping by using Google Maps as a reference. So to put a stop to it, he got it blurred. Now, there are better ways to prevent breakouts like enhancing security, but who knows, maybe blurring out the prison on Google Earth has effectively stopped prison escapes since then. Doubt it though. Number 4. Marcoule Nuclear Site. The Marcoule Nuclear Site located in France has been blurred off the maps. Operational since 1956, Marcoule is a gigantic site run by the Atomic Energy Organization, Commissariat à l'Énergie Atomique, CEA, and Arriva NC. The first industrial and military plutonium experiments took place in Marcoule. Diversification of the site was started in the 1970s with the creation of the Phoenix prototype fast breeder reactor, which was operational until 2009 and is nowadays an important site for decommissioning nuclear facilities activities. Since 1995, the factory has been producing MOX from a mix of uranium and plutonium oxides. MOX is used to recycle plutonium from nuclear fuel. Unfortunately, on September 12, 2011, there was an explosion in an oven used to melt metallic waste of a weak and very weak level of radioactivity, ending the life of 1 person and injuring 4. A safety cordon was set up around the plant by fire officers because of a risk of a leakage, and because of this, it really isn't a shock that it's off the map. Number 3. House of Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller. The House of Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller in Russia is blurred. I wonder why. Well, Gazprom is a Russian majority state-owned multinational energy corporation headquartered in St. Petersburg. As of 2019, with sales over $120 billion, it was ranked as the largest publicly listed natural gas company in the world and the largest company in Russia by revenue. Repeatedly, Gazprom has been accused of being a political and economical weapon of Russia, using the supply and price of natural gas to gain control over Europe. On April 22, 2015, Gazprom was charged by the European Commission with using territorial restrictions to engage in anti-competitive behavior and using its dominant position to impose
unfair prices. The company was accused of preventing competition in Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Slovakia. In June 2021, a massive methane plume over Russia resulted from the partial shutdown of a Gazprom PJSC pipeline for emergency repair. The company said the repairs, which took place on June 4th, released 2.7 million cubic meters, aka 1,830 metric tons of methane. And that's just a couple of their controversies. With environmentalists mad at Gazprom, it's no shock that the CEO wants his house location essentially wiped from the internet. Number 2. Valkuil Air Base. It's believed that since the early 1960s, USAF nuclear weapons have been stored at the Valkuil Air Base in the Netherlands to be used by the host nation's aircraft. As of 2008, 22 B-61 nuclear bombs were believed to be in storage at Valkuil. Despite the evidence for this, the Dutch Ministry of Defense never officially acknowledges or denies the presence of nuclear weapons at Valkuil. In a book published by former Air Force pilot Steve Netto, it was revealed that some 50 B-28 nuclear bombs were in storage there around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, if needed, were to be deployed by aircraft of the Royal Netherlands Air Force. In a document leaked as part of the United States diplomat cables leak, the presence of nuclear weapons in the Netherlands is confirmed, though no specific location is given. On June 10, 2013, former Prime Minister Ruud Lubbers confirmed the existence of 22 nuclear weapons at the airfield. In a 2016 NATO draft report, Valkuil was mentioned as one of 6 locations where altogether approximately 150 American B-61 bombs are stored. And according to a May 2021 article from Bellingcat, many sensitive security details about the nuclear arsenal at Valkuil, such as which vaults currently had nuclear weapons in them, were inadvertently exposed when journalists discovered that the soldiers tasked with overseeing these weapons had been using publicly available flashcard websites to assist them in learning these details. And coming up at number 1 is the Snow Saddle. Kantega, better known as the Snow Saddle, is an area located in the Nepal Himalaya. A section of this mountain is blackened out by satellites. At first, many thought this area might just be a glitch in the satellite cameras. However, if you reference another satellite site in Bing's search engine, the spot is pixelated out. There have been many sightings of UFOs in the area, leading many to believe that the blackened area is a base of operations for a secret government project dealing with the extraterrestrial. The alleged secret UFO base was discovered by YouTube alien and UFO hunter Mexico Geek, who uploaded the evidence to YouTube on January 28, 2016. The images have sparked lively discussion and debates on UFO forums. These areas are known in the UFO community to be UFO hotspots. Alien and UFO spotters have reported strange and suspicious phenomena in this area in the past. Reported sightings in the remote and inaccessible area include massive flying saucers and orb UFOs emerging from underground locations. The area is notorious for the strange and eerie and mysterious activity, and it's believed that it's either a UFO base in the area or a top secret military facility for alien UFO reverse engineering research projects, and that's the reason why it's blurred.
Starting off this countdown, we have Costa Concordia. On January 13th of 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia sadly crashed into underwater rocks. This resulted in the ship capsizing and sinking. Sadly, 32 passengers lost their lives in this tragedy, and Google Earth caught it on camera. It has photos of the ship laying on its side, which is a dark reminder of this tragedy. The captain of the ship ended up being charged with multiple counts of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison as people argued that he delayed the evacuation of the ship, and then he fled the ship and left the crew and passengers to fend for themselves. In our 9th spot, we have the disappearance. On November 7th of 1997, 40-year-old William Moult was reported missing after going out one night and never returning home. Sadly, the police had no leads as to where William could be or what happened to him. The case went cold for 20 years. That's when Google Earth found William. Basically, a housing development manager was using Google Earth to check out some properties when he saw something strange in a pond near the homes. Turns out this weird thing was William's car. The police ended up dragging the pond and retrieved his car. William's body was found in there as well. The only mystery that remains is how William ended up driving into the pond in the first place. In our 8th spot, we have the secret bunker. Hidden in the New Mexico desert is a secret bunker surrounded by strange symbols. These symbols were thought to be done by the works of aliens. Anyways, the bunker is located close to these symbols, and it's said to be the alien space cathedral of the Church of Scientology. Former Scientologist Ron Hubbard says that the symbols mark a return point for reincarnation. The bunker even has its own private airstrip for the church's leaders. In 2005, it was confirmed that this bunker does indeed exist. This bunker is said to be the place where members can travel to in the future from other places in the universe. Moving on to number 7, we have the Blood Red Lake. Just outside of Sadr City in Iraq, there is a lake that is completely red, hence why it was given the name Blood Red Lake. The reason as to why it's red remains a mystery, but of course we have some theories. One is that pollution or sewage caused it to turn red. Another is that it's a result of the water treatment process, whereas others believe that the lake is red from blood running into it from a slaughterhouse. To this day, no one has offered an official explanation as to why this river looks like blood. In our 6th spot today, we have the oil refinery. The Hungarian oil refinery Százhalombatta is so private that they wanted Google Earth to block them out. But instead of blurring it or barring it with a black box, they asked Google to have it colored green, and no one knows why. Now it just looks like a weird football field. A lot of people are wondering what they're trying to protect or hide from us. Hopefully they aren't trying to hide some illegal or shady activity that they're into. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the French nuclear facility. La Hague is a nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France that opened in 1976. It is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. But here's the thing. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down. They have been dumping 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day into the ocean. That is extremely toxic for the environment. What's even more messed up is that the site wasn't always blurred out. But when people heard about the whole Greenpeace controversy, they had Google Earth blur out their location. This has led people to believe that they are still dumping this radioactive waste into the ocean. They just don't want people to see what they're doing. In our 4th spot, we have the prisons. Now, there are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in France or the Almira Correctional Facility. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. The main one being so that criminals don't figure out the layout of these prisons. They are afraid that they will use this information to plan an escape. In fact, this actually happened a couple of times. Following a successful jailbreak at the Beaumet prison, France's Prime Minister of Justice was like, it's because they knew the layout of the building. So this resulted in the prison being blurred, along with a number of other prisons. In our 3rd spot, we have the invisible jet. Just last year, a Google Earth user discovered something that sent the internet into a frenzy. The user claimed to have found an invisible US Air Force plane hiding in plain sight. Pun intended. Check it out. Crazy, isn't it? Now, this was spotted at an Air Force base in Texas. Either this plane is invisible or semi-invisible because we can still see it, or Google Maps blurred it out to try and keep it a secret. Others say that it's just a glitch, or that it's Wonder Woman's plane, or that it's just a B-1 bomber with heat haze coming off of it. But I don't know, a lot of conspiracy theorists think otherwise. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our 2nd spot, we have the giant sea monster. We really don't know what's going on in our ocean. Like, over 80% of it remains unexplored, and with all the nuclear waste that's going in it, who knows what kind of beasts lurk out there? Well, one of them might have been caught on camera. This image is what appears to be a massive sea beast. We don't know for sure what exactly it is, but it was spotted off the coast of Antarctica's Deception Island. That's right, the island is called Deception Island. It's kind of eerie. Anyways, theories range from this thing being an underwater UFO to the Kraken, even the Loch Ness Monster, which, if it's Nessie, then what is it doing all the way over there? Anyways, I will say it looks an awful lot like a giant squid. Who's trying to make a trip over there to figure it out in person? Maybe we can catch this beast. I'm just kidding. No thank you. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the escaped killer. As you know from part 1 of this video series, Google Earth is a snitch. You gotta watch out because an escaped killer who was on the run for nearly 20 years was caught, all thanks to Google Earth. The man's name is Gioacchino Gamino, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he is a convicted murderer, mafia member, and one of Italy's most wanted gangsters. He had been sentenced to life in prison for a murder he committed in 1998. In 2002, he managed to escape prison. He then went on to live in Spain under a fake alias. Now, let me explain how he got caught. So basically, someone tipped off authorities saying that he was living there and that he owned a restaurant. So they looked it up on Google Earth, and although his face was blurred, they saw him outside his restaurant. They ended up tracking him down and he was arrested on December 17th of 2021, so fairly recently. Starting off this countdown, we have Snow Saddle. Snow Saddle is a major mountain peak of the Himalayas in Nepal. But if you try to view it from Google Earth, you'll see that the whole area is blacked out, which is obviously suspicious. Why is a mountain peak blurred? What's going on there that has Google blurring it? To this day, no one knows for sure. But of course, there are a number of theories. One theory is that the Nazis had secret expeditions to the Himalayas and found a UFO base in that area. Sounds crazy, right? Well, there have been a number of UFO sightings in that area, so maybe it is a top secret UFO base. Who knows? We don't know. Moving on to number 9, we have Baker Lake. Located in Nunavut, Canada, Google Earth is letting you see none of it. Get it? Like none of it? Sorry, I love my puns. So if you look it up on Google Maps, it's weird because you see just a black strip covering a large area near the lake. What's it blocking? Again, we don't know for sure, but we have some crazy conspiracies. One theory is that the strip is concealing extraterrestrial beacons that help the navigation of the crafts, or that it's a craft landing strip. I don't know. They also say that this area would be perfect for the beacons since snow creates a powerful electromagnetic field that helps send a better signal. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our 8th spot, we have the Pacific Northwest Blur. Here is a view of the area close to the Washington-Oregon border. And would you look at that? There's a random patch blacked out. To this day, no one knows what that is. But something is there that Google doesn't want us to see. In fact, some people believe that it is a HAARP site, or HAARP. HAARP is said to be a military program that weaponizes weather and causes natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, droughts, you get it. Now, some people have actually traveled to that area to see what's up, but unfortunately haven't been able to find anything. Kinda suspicious. Like, what does Google know that we don't know? A whole lot, that's what. In our 7th spot, we have 2207 Seymour Avenue. This is the address to a home located in Cleveland, Ohio. A home in which a horrific crime took place. A crime that people don't like to talk about. From 2002 to 2004, Adriel Castro kidnapped 3 young women, Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Georgina De Jesus. He kept them captive in his home until 2013 when Amanda Berry escaped with her daughter and contacted the police. Police came to his house and rescued the other women. This house has since been blurred on Google Maps due to the horrific crimes that took place inside. In fact, it was given the name the House of Horrors. But in 2013, it was actually demolished to help the victims move on from their traumatizing past. In our 6th spot, we have Valencia City. Located in the Philippines, Valencia City is one of the largest and most populated cities in the province of Bukidnon. It's home to over 190,000 people. It's even a popular tourist spot. But if you want to find it on Google Earth, you can't. The whole city is just blurred out. This was apparently done under government orders. Valencia City is home to their government's headquarters. It's said to house a top secret missile defense program. Others say that they do missile testing there, but that hasn't been proven, so we really don't know. It's just weird that the whole city is blurred out, not just a single area. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Amchitka Island. Located in Alaska, sections of this island are blurred out and no one really knows why this is. But it may have to do with the nuclear testing that once took place there. From the 1950s to the 1970s, this island was the site of US underground nuclear testing. Nowadays, they are running tests to see if the island has any radioactive leakage there. If there isn't, then in 2025 it could become a wildlife reserve. But again, why is half of the island blurred out? Maybe that's the section where the nuclear testing took place. But why is it still blurred? A lot of people think that the military is doing some suspicious illegal activities there. We just don't know what. Moving on, at number 4 we have Vokel Air Base. Located in the Netherlands, we have the Vokel Air Base, which is a military air base used by the Royal Netherlands Air Force. According to former Dutch Prime Minister, there are 22 US nuclear bombs being stored in bunkers of this airspace, which is one of the many reasons as to why it appears pixelated on Google Earth. You got thermonuclear bombs, all the way to bombs that are said to be 4 times powerful as the ones used on the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, for the longest time, the place was just rumored to have nukes. It wasn't known for sure. That was until 2013 when the Prime Minister let it slip. He said, and I quote, "I would never have thought those silly things would still be there in 2013. I think they are an absolutely pointless part of a tradition in military thinking." In our 3rd spot, we have the mysterious Russian site. Located in the Siberian tundra close to the city of Egvikinot. I know I said that wrong. I literally looked up the pronunciation, but there is nothing out there, so I apologize. Egvigno, I'm so sorry. Anyways, the area is blurred out on Google Earth and no one knows why. I've been saying that a lot this video, but it's true, no one knows why. But it didn't always appear like this. At one point they had edited the satellite imagery. They cut out a section around Egvinot, that place I don't know how to say, and pasted it over whatever they wanted to blur. They thought it would make it less obvious. But apparently on Russian maps they had the area blurred with a black box. So what's going on in that area? Some say it's HAARP again, others say there's a large gold deposit in that area, so they don't want people finding that out. Others say it's a ballistic missile testing site. Coming in at number 2, we have the murder scene. Google Earth is a snitch, y'all, okay? A couple of years ago, they caught a murder on camera. It shows a dark figure standing by a body laying down on the ground by some abandoned train tracks. That's all we know. Obviously, due to it being disturbing in nature, they don't want people seeing it. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the poor donkey. Now, this has to be one of the funniest, yet saddest things caught on Google Earth/Maps. So you know how they have that van with the camera that drives along and it just snaps photos like every second in every direction? Well, while going along, it captured a donkey at the side of the road. Seconds later, if you click down the road and you turn back, the donkey's still there, just now laying on the floor. It had been hit by the Google Earth truck. It's pretty sad. Rest in peace, donkey. But that doesn't look too good on the company if they're going around and hitting and killing animals. Just saying.
Number 10, crashed car. 20 years ago, a man named William went missing in the state of Florida after visiting a nightclub, with seemingly no trace left behind and no way to find where he went. But 2 decades later, someone was on Google Maps when they noticed something strange in a pond. The man was surveying for bus routes for his work when he saw what appeared to be a submerged car near the edge of the water. He called his ex-girlfriend to take a look and see if there was a car in the pond, but she couldn't see anything due to the murky water, so she contacted her neighbor. The neighbor flew his drone over the water and confirmed there was a car, contacting the authorities. They were able to remove the vehicle and did find human remains inside, later identifying them as the body of William. He had apparently lost control of his car, but due to no one living in the area at the time, it went unnoticed for 2 decades, the dirty water keeping his car hidden for years. Number 9, stolen bicycle. In 2008, a man was riding his bicycle
bicycle through Holland when he was approached by two men who stole his phone, money, and his bicycle. Due to the lack of any leads in the case, the police were unable to help him with recovering his stolen things, until 6 months later. He was looking through Google Street View at the exact place where the event had taken place, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Street View car had passed by and taken a photo mere seconds before the crime happened. The view shows the man on his bicycle and the two men right behind him preparing their attack. Thanks to this, he was able to take the evidence to the police, who easily recognized the two men as brothers who were well known by the justice system and had committed crimes before. Number 8. The Dock. You may recognize this image as it went viral on social media when it was discovered and posted to the website Reddit. It shows a dock in Holland which appears to have a blood trail that leads to somebody's body. The user posted it saying that someone had been killed by their house, and this was photographic evidence of it. People were in a panic trying to solve the mystery and figure out who the person was and how this event had come to pass. Fortunately, however, some other people took the time to look further into the image and really look at the details of what was going on. It was revealed that the two figures at the end of the dock were not a criminal and a body, but instead just a man and his dog. What many thought was a blood trail was actually just the result of the dog having gone for a swim in the water and then trailing the moisture down the dock as he walked, the color just being the color of the wood when it gets wet. Number 7. Stolen car. Now for another case of the Google Street View car being in the right place at the right time. A man named David had his car stolen right out of his driveway, and he probably felt like the unluckiest guy on earth because he had just bought this new car after his first one had been destroyed by a joyrider. But in actuality, he was pretty lucky. His son decided to look up their home on Google Street View, something I'm sure we all did at some point when we were younger, and when he looked at the driveway, he realized that the Google car had actually managed to catch the thief in the act of stealing the van, with a full view of his face and what he was doing. The police believed that the camera had managed to catch the man just moments before he drove off. After convincing Google to unblur the license plate so they could confirm the evidence, they were able to make an arrest on the crime 2 years after it had taken place. Number 6. Swiss farm. When you think of Switzerland, you probably imagine snowy mountains and alpine skiing resorts, and you probably don't picture people running around on beautiful green farms. But they are there, and one particular one was growing a lot of corn when they were found out for growing something else. I don't think I can say exactly what they were growing, but I think you get what I'm expressing here. Anyways, they were hiding this other farm behind rows and rows of corn to keep it hidden from view. Unfortunately, they probably hadn't considered Google Earth managing to snap a picture of it from above, revealing to the police their illegal side hustle. The discovery led to the arrest of 16 different farmers and the confiscation of over a ton of grass. The police admitted that they hadn't actually been searching for what they found and called it a chance discovery. Number 5. Robbery. In 2011, a woman had her home broken into in Oklahoma City. The robbers had weapons and prevented her from interfering while they ransacked the home, the whole event taking place in broad daylight. She said that the whole thing lasted for over an hour and she was devastated and terrified. More so when the police told her that there was no forensic evidence or other leads that they could follow up on to identify the criminals and bring them to justice. So if it all took place inside the home, how did Google Earth manage to catch what was going on? Well, 3 years later in 2014, a friend was looking at the home on Google Street View when she saw a picture of two men walking down the street just outside the home. The men matched the description that the woman had given of the robbers, and with this evidence, the police were able to launch an appeal to get the case reopened and subsequently solved. Number 4. Tax dodging. During the 2000s, an Italian businessman attempted to carry out a tax evasion scheme, and he would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids. The finance police discovered that the man had sold a villa in 2002, which was noted as having a specifically phallic-shaped pool. With this clue, they took to Google Earth to find the property and were quickly able to. It became clear when they saw the aerial view that the property was clearly worth much more, especially when compared to similar properties in the area. This then led to them checking into all of the man's dealings, including his bank account checks. These checks revealed various different omissions, which totaled to around 7 million euros of dodged taxes. I picked this one specifically because I think it's incredibly topical, with Shakira's hips recently being found out for lying about paying taxes as well. Number 3. 9 years. William wasn't the only case to be solved thanks to overhead imagery of a submerged car in a lake. In 2006, a 72-year-old man named David Niles walked out of his favorite bar in Michigan and was never seen again. A decade passed and no one had any clue where he went, his family eventually giving up any hopes of finding him. Almost 10 years later, a man was decorating his Christmas tree when he thought he saw something deep in the lake across the road. He took a look on Google Earth and it revealed the distinct shape of a car in the water, very similar to the image that revealed William's whereabouts. Cops were able to pull the car out and the remains of David were found inside, identified by his wallet. His son-in-law said, "For us today, it's a closure of a long search. Why God waited 9 years, I have no idea, but we're happy. It's good to have him home." Number 2. Blood Lake. In 2007, people who spent their time looking around on Google Earth discovered something that they felt was pretty startling. It's a lake in Iraq that is estimated to be 500 feet wide and around a half a mile long, and it's bright red. People immediately started speculating that this is from some sort of terrible crime, and it's a lake that has managed to be stained red by blood. Others suggesting that the color came about due to a butchery using it as a dumping ground. Innocent theories were that of a specific type of algae or pollution and chemicals changing the color of the water. Unfortunately, we will never actually know what caused the color, as if you look at the lake now, it's back to normal. I know this doesn't really count as a solved mystery, but maybe you know why it was red and you can let me know in the comments and you can be the one who solved it. Number 1. Secret swimming pools. While the majority of things on my list today have been individual crimes reports, let me tell you about something that was discovered that was much more widespread. You may not know this, but in Athens, Greece, you need a special permit to be allowed to build a swimming pool on your land. And who the heck wants to pay for that? Reports show that there were only 324 pools in Athens, which investigators thought was just way too low a number. So financial crime investigators took to Google Earth to try and figure out the truth about what was going on. Within a few months, they had used the application to discover over 16,000 hidden and undeclared swimming pools on people's properties. The Greek government was cracking down on fraud at the time, and by tracking down the homeowners and collecting that pool tax, they were able to make a lot of cash. So if you're planning on hiding a swimming pool in Greece anytime soon, maybe consider a camouflage cover.
Starting us off at number 10, we have Jeanette Island. Located somewhere in the East Siberian Sea, this mysterious tiny island measures just 1.2 miles in length, and according to the powers that be, we are not supposed to know about it. From what we can tell, it's mainly covered in ice, so it's highly unlikely that there's any kind of civilization there. So the million-dollar question is, what are they hiding? Apparently there have been some issues about who the island legally belongs to, with disputes between the US and Russia over the years, which has led some to believe it could be some kind of top secret military base or something. But whatever it is, it's blurred out on Google Maps and no one is allowed to visit. Next up at number 9, Patio de los Norengos. Located in the gorgeous coastal city of Almeria in Spain, something about this place doesn't add up, and it's being kept a secret from the world. What's strange about this location in particular is that Patio de los Norengos translates to Orange Tree Courtyard, which, if that were true, why on earth would we not be able to visit it? So it begs the question, what lies beneath that blurred out square on Google Maps, and what could be so dangerous about it that we aren't even allowed to see it virtually, let alone in person? Maybe it's a government building, or maybe it's a top secret military base, but whatever it is, they are not keen on anyone knowing what is going on, which to me seems very suspicious. Coming in at number 8, Amchitka Island. Once home to the Aleut people for over 2,500 years, Amchitka Island has had no permanent population since 1832. In 1836, when the United States purchased Alaska, they gained control of the territory, and it's likely this purchase had something to do with the declining population. But that's not all. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it became the largest underground nuclear testing site site and was controversial even then, in fear that the test could cause severe environmental impacts and desolate the land. Currently, it's under observation for radioactive leakage, and so it has been blurred out from Google Maps to keep visitors far, far away. Coming in at number 7, a Russian warehouse. Deep in an unnamed forest in Russia lies a strange building that no one is permitted to see. Already, it sounds like the start of a spy movie. From ground level, it's likely all you would see is the double high fencing that surrounds the mysterious warehouses, but from a bird's eye view, you can see it all. But just because we can see it on Google does not mean they want us to know what's in there. I mean, generally when you put a giant strange building in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a huge fence, you are trying to keep something a secret. Although no one knows exactly what this strange mile-long warehouse is, many suspect it to be some kind of military storage facility, possibly even storing explosives. So if that is the case, it would make sense why they put it in the middle of nowhere and why no one is permitted to visit. Coming in at number 6, underwater pyramids. Located in the Bahamas, this photo found in Google Maps has left many thinking that they discovered underwater pyramids. Now, I know, this is a full conspiracy theory, but I mean I had to add it because it's too entertaining to leave out. Some believe it's proof of Atlantis or aliens themselves, while others have deduced it could have been built by an ancient civilization. The mysterious structure is estimated to measure between 3.5 to 11 miles across based on the photos, although no one knows for sure as you can't get to the structure to see for yourself. If it is in fact what many believe it to be, it would be bigger than any pyramid ever built. But seeing as though no one can visit them, it might be a long while before we know if these pyramids prove any kind of extraterrestrial involvement on Earth. Coming in at number 5, Sandy Island. Also known as the Phantom Island, this peculiar location was first discovered by the famous British explorer Captain James Cook in 1774. Now, what's crazy about Sandy Island is that it was documented on maps, globes, and even nautical charts for 238 years. But now if you go to Google Maps, you will see no such island. The reason being that in 1979, it was quite literally undiscovered as no landmass existed there, but even so it remained on Google Maps until 2012. This seemingly conflicting information made many wonder if there was something that we weren't being told about this strange island, or non-island, and some conspiracy theorists even believe that it is truly there and that we are being lied to. I mean, it isn't every day that something is undiscovered, so it does make sense to wonder if there is something going on behind the scenes, but I guess we will never know for sure. Coming in at number 4, Areno La Hague. Fully pixelated out on Google Maps, this recycling plant has a very strict no visitors policy, which is likely why you are not able to see the entirety of the complex. You might be asking, a recycling plant, what's so bad about that I'm not allowed to visit? Well, it's not just any old recycling place for beer bottles and juice boxes. The Areno La Hague is a recycling plant for nuclear fuel. So as you can imagine, it is an extremely hazardous place littered with nuclear waste, and so for those very obvious reasons, Google Maps keeps it blurred out to keep visitors from trying to figure out how to get there. Coming in at number 3, the GROM headquarters. If you have ever Googled Warsaw in Poland, you may or may not have come across a strange group of buildings that look like mysterious blobs compared to the rest of the city around it. Well, as it turns out, this is no accident. Those buildings are GROM, or GROM, I'm not totally sure, headquarters, which is essentially Poland's Special Forces building. All I can find out about this top secret group is that they rescued CIA agents from a mission gone wrong in Desert Storm back in 1991. And whatever else they're up to, they do not want you to know about. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of the point. So as much as I am sure many of us would like to know what goes on in this super secret Polish spy headquarters, I'm afraid that information is highly classified, and their exact location will continue to remain a secret from the public. Coming in at number 2, a massive pentagram. Somewhere in the outskirts of Kazakhstan lies a dark symbol that has literally been carved into the earth. Although you might not be able to fully see the entire symbol at ground level, from above the stark pentagram is clear as day. Conspiracy theorists have linked the cliffside pentagram to the Freemasons and Wiccans, stating that it is a site of animal sacrifice and satanic ritual, although this has never actually been confirmed. Still, the exact location of the pentagram is difficult to track down, and though not necessarily illegal to visit, I would definitely stay far away from anywhere rumored to be the site of a satanic ritual. And last up, in our number 1 spot today, we have a UFO crash site. Whether you tend to believe in aliens or not, this one is pretty freaking wild. From what you can see on Google Maps, it appears that a flying saucer crashed in the plains of South Africa. Around the UFO is a well-worn dirt path, which has led some to believe that aliens themselves could be hiding out there, as no one has visited the site since it was discovered, and how else would a dirt path have been formed if not by someone or something walking around the area? The top appears to be metallic from the area shot, which is unlike any rooftops on other buildings in the area, and many conspiracy theorists are convinced it's a UFO. No one has seen the site to know for sure, or at least no one has returned to tell the tale.